cane.
Yeah, I don't think, I'll be at work early in the morning, but Joni will be home, and I don't think she has anything going on, so I'll reach out.
Okay.
You know Heather, don't you?
Oh, yeah, Heather's great.
Oh, yeah, she's not right now. Her husband was in a pretty traumatic car accident. He's okay, he's home, he had 16 stitches, but he's kind of a mess.
Hi there.
Good evening, good evening.
Sorry to hear that.
Good evening. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, everyone.
Could be worse, I guess.
Turn my ringer off.
Can I have you for a minute?
Sure.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good day.
I've bought my tickets for going to Vermont.
Oh, when are you going to Vermont?
I'm going from the 9th to the, I'll be gone 16 days in July.
Oh, July.
Now, I wouldn't try to, I tried not to do it in May because of, May's an important month
Yeah,
for
May's-
budgets and stuff.
You gotta see Jim every week.
I mean, I like you, Jim,
Jim will
but.
feel jilted if you're not here.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's doing most of the talking.
I'll be at the last week of May, but that won't be, that
wouldn't
won't
So I will
interfere.
be here for the I'll be here for the 9th. Oh, wait a minute.
grabbed it.
I gotta go up to Portland.
I
I don't know if I can be here on the 8th or not. Let me look into that a little further.
Well,
I fly out on the 9th.
oh,
I fly out on the 9th of July, and I'll come back on the 16th, but I fly out of Portland.
Process as far as design.
But that means I should be able to, I'll be back for the
I understand.
Okay. Work session.
Okay, I appreciate it. You know, you got it. We're good. Okay.
What they're gonna be.
so I'll note that you're excused for the,
Your backyard looking nice.
Counselor Holt, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
you don't need to be excused.
I was gonna show you the
I
pictures
have
I
to
got,
look
but I
to see
forgot my
what time
phone.
I'm gonna fly out on the 9th. If it's in the morning, I think it's in the morning. I have to be in Portland.
Let us know.
I'll have to be in Portland. I'm pretty sure that I fly out at 10:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's a nice time.
Yeah,
That's reasonable.
I'll get into Vermont at 1:30. But anyway, so I won't, I'll have to be in Portland.
I know.
So how was the trip to Texas?
Fantastic.
With the eclipse?
Yes, it was great. It was cloud covered a lot.
No.
And so it would like peek out behind the clouds, but we were completely cloud free for the entirety of totality.
Oh, that's
It was my grandma and her twins, they're both dead, their birthday as well, so we are convinced that they cleared the skies for us. And
grandma.
They took their wings.
we kept asking them to, and it happened, so I'm sure it was them.
I turned on the news, or the show anyway, that was being fed on the internet, and they started like in Mexico and followed it all the way through
Oh
Maine.
my gosh.
And it just wasn't special after a while.
No,
We really shouldn't do that.
One thing I can tell you from now chasing two of these is that, first of all, I didn't get the best pictures this time because I had changed the setting and didn't realize that it took my zoom out. And so it wasn't until after totality that I realized that I was not on Zoom at all. And so all my pictures are really far away. But if you put my pictures from this year next to the ones from 2017, you would never know the difference. I'm not even kidding. Like there's really nothing special about where you go. Like I was in Corvallis in Texas, and the pictures basically.
Yeah. They just tracked it all across the US. It was the same picture. People going,
But it was exciting for people. It was really cool. And next time I come, I'll show you my niece. While my sisters, I made them do this. We're right now trying to get pictures. We've got hands we're using and stuff. And my niece is like freaking out about the shadows on the ground. And so she got a picture of that for us while we were.
Yes,
It was wild.
So I thought we'll have you introduce all the members.
But it was a good trip.
Except we don't see them
There's a
so
lot of
often.
bugs there though. So bad. My sister lives out in Virginia.
Oh, that's what that is.
And she had sprayed right before we came, so every morning we
They had that, we should put that on here. Is it on here anywhere?
That's how many bugs are out there. It was so gross. Yeah.
Jim, not here yet.
No threat of me moving to Texas.
Jim O.
Never mind.
I was disappointed.
I lived there for 7 months and I enjoy it a lot.
Good evening, sir.
It was during the winter time, so temperatures rarely
Are
got
all the
above
kids and
88.
their sports
I
going?
fell in love with this little town called
What
Granbury.
sport do your boys playing right now?
Baseball.
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 Yeah, all right.
We got our first win against
It
Churchill the
was-
other day.
They
It
play
wasn't
for
very,
Creswell team or?
I really missed Florida because it's
Creswell,
much
Babe Ruth.
prettier than
I coach the rugby
Creswell
minors.
City, Texas.
Yeah, it's very, very dry and ugly there.
7 to 9 year olds.
Yeah.
Well, I had my kindergarten playing.
Oh, yeah, I arrived right after Harvey.
I have 4 kids that never played before, so it's a little rough. It's coming off pitching machines. They didn't even play T-ball.
I'd be
They're
worried about.
rough. First 5 games were 1 and 4. We got one against Churchill.
It's
There you go,
actually,
there you go.
you think of it actually being on the golf, but there's, it's
Miles.
probably more like 20 miles from the
Well, I'm
golf.
thinking of Galveston, that's,
Yeah.
people who live in Galveston.
And they didn't get hit that hard, they just got a little bit higher winds than normal.
Good evening and welcome to the Creswell City Council work session, April 22, 2024. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming this evening to our meeting. We begin with the mayor's report, and I want to first of all announce that at our May City Council meeting, May 13, we are going to recognize Judge Scott Palmer, who has been our judge for Creswell Municipal Court for 40 consecutive years. And so, counselors, please be invited to come. 5:30 is when we're going to start. We're going to have a reception right next door. Punch, goodies, cake. We got a gift for Scott. We did a little bit of research, figured out what would he like. Scott told me he's going to bring his wife, so that will be special. And then at the council meeting at the very beginning, we'll recognize him publicly and have some pictures and things like that. Members of the public are also invited to attend the reception, which will start at 5:30. A couple other items that are not on the mayor's report, but just a reminder, in May, we will have our regular council meeting on the 13th. We will not have our work session 2 weeks later because that's Memorial Day Monday. We will have our work session the very next week, May 20th. So we're going to have back-to-back meetings, May 13 and then May 20, and then also the budget training is next week Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Yes.
You can always come 6 o'clock up here or down up here. Counselors, you're always welcome to come for a refresher. Those who are new to Budget Committee need to be encouraged to come and get training. And then we will start in with our budget the very next week on Tuesday night, the 7th at 6 p.m. here, and then 2 weeks later on the 21st. So we have a busy 3 weeks in May. I wanted to make sure you all had that on your calendar. Okay, that is the extent of my mayor's report tonight. So we go to committee reports, Administration and Finance Committee.
No report tonight, Mayor.
All right, very good. How about Public Safety Committee?
No report as well.
All right. Transportation and Public Works Committee.
No report, but I shared last week, or last time we met, that we were going to get together to talk about the crosswalk, and I have not pulled together that meeting yet, so just another FYI, we're going to get together and we'll talk about the crosswalk at 8th and A. and have a recommendation.
Okay, then we go to the Parks and Trees Advisory Board.
Well, we worked on finalizing some plans for Arbor Day and decided we would declare an emergency meeting to finalize plans on tomorrow. No, the day before, Tuesday of next, it is tomorrow.
It's a special meeting,
It's a special meeting.
not an emergency.
Okay, tomorrow, a special meeting for Parks
Parks
Advisory.
and Trees, we're gonna meet at Garden Lake Park to discuss final plans for
Okay,
Arbor Day.
and Norma, you'll be planning to read the
I will be planning
proclamation
to do
on
it. I've
Saturday.
been thinking about it, I can't say my name is, that I'm the mayor, so I'll just say that the mayor has asked me to do it and do the declaration that way.
And you can announce that you're a counselor and that you are the council representative to the Parks and Trees Advisory Board.
Okay.
Okay, all right, back to your report. Do you have anything else to report with us tonight?
We came up with a finalized tree list, and it's ready to bring to City Council to take a look at it. I don't know when that's going to come on the agenda. There's no rush.
It won't be on the agenda, it'll just be a report.
Oh,
But
okay.
we will have copies of it available at Arbor Day.
We discussed the possibility of forming a recreation district with Cottage Grove. Just kind of initial thought, thinking about whether it's something we want to do, something to the benefit of others, to the benefit of our city. Just preliminary talk. I think that's pretty much everything.
Okay,
I'm excited. I hope everybody shows up that can. And the Arbor Day celebration is going to be fun. And I'm really excited, which I might have mentioned before, but the sign that's out there in the hallway is going to be revealed to the public at the Arbor Day celebration. I'm pretty excited about that. We've worked hard.
yes, your committee has worked very hard on a lot of projects. Okay,
Well, we love our city and we love our parks and we love trees, so, you know, I think that's pretty universal with everyone that comes to the meetings.
okay, we will go to the Airport Commission, and we're going to start with Alonzo. It's you're our representative. Would you introduce the members of the Airport Commission who are here
I
tonight?
will. Thank you, Mayor. Right here is Pat Dobson, who is one of our airport commissioners, and we also have Mike Anderson, who's here tonight. But who I don't see here tonight is our chair, Jim Ordoso, who's going to give the annual report. So I see Manager Humble with her hand up.
With your indulgence, Mayor, he is running a tad bit late. He's on his way. But part of the discussion tonight, we have Commissioner Mike Anderson, who is president of the school board, and he's got some exciting news, and he's got a gentleman here with him to talk about the aviation STEM program that's going to start happening next year at the high school. So maybe we can do that portion of it until Jim gets here.
Well, why don't we do the LCOG and Lane Act, and then
Okay.
we'll come back and we'll cover all of airport at one time. How's that?
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Mayor.
Because this will be quick. LCOG, there's no report. So we go to Lane Act. Well, I'm going to guess there's a Lane Act report.
There's always a Lane Act
Yes.
report.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple of updates. So April 8th, there was the Lane Act chair and vice chair meeting that happened up in Kaiser, where we were able to meet with the OTC, meet with other chairs and vice chairs of Lane Act. And some of the things that we talked about during that meeting was, number one, we talked about the 2025 session, and we talked about the need for funding maintenance projects throughout the state of Oregon. We actually got a whole presentation around funding and how that's actually dramatically underfunded for any maintenance projects. And so we're going to have a repeat performance of that presentation at our next Lane Act meeting. So if you are interested in learning more about kind of maintenance needs, and this is really for all transportation projects throughout the state of Oregon, you are
always welcome to attend our Lane Act meeting to learn more about that. The presentation on April 8th was given by Director Strickler, who is in charge of ODOT. Anyway, so it's going to be given by Savannah Crawford, who is the ODOT Region 2 manager. So again, if you've got questions, and kind of how did we get to the place where maintenance is so underfunded? And it has to do with a lot of different things. Inflation is one of them. Purchasing power is different. Kind of a less of a return on gas tax, things like that. So there's a number of different pieces that go into it. I'm not doing it justice right now, but like I said, if you are interested and kind of hearing what message that we believe legislators are going to need to hear for the 2025 session, then if you would like to be there, you are very welcome to be there. So that's coming up. The other thing that we talked about at the April 8th meeting was a revision of our Oregon Highway Plan. And kind of what are some things that we needed to be thinking about as that is being revised. It is very early pieces to that. So some of the things I talked about were the needs of rural communities and making sure that we're considering the needs of rural communities as we update our Oregon Highway Plan, as well as thinking about how we're kind of thinking about parallel processes, so between rail and our Oregon highways, as well as our rural communities, because for many of our rural communities, places like 99 cut right through the middle, and that may not involve a rail project that goes right through the middle. For example, the jog, right, is one of those prime examples. And so anyway, so we talked about that. We also talked about leveraging some technology so that we might be able to do things like, hey, here's a pothole. Let's geotag exactly where that is so that we can then share that information back with ODOT so that, again, ongoing maintenance can happen. And so one of the things I mentioned on the way home from that meeting, because I happen to be with our ODOT folks, is like, hey, let's talk about some potholes that we've got right in front of Creswell. And so they said that they would send some folks out. And so I see that those potholes are fixed. That may have been the conversation. It may have been Cliff and his team being fantastic. So, but either way, communication is happening, and we're making sure that that happens. The next thing that we, I guess moving forward to the Lane Act meeting that we met on April, just recently, is that we were taking, do you remember last year when we were talking about all of those projects and what were the top projects that we had for each community? So now we are continuing the work to kind of narrow down those projects. And so the question that I have for the group tonight is, or I guess the task is to take what were our top 5 projects, and from that list of 5, and I can remind us all what that list of 5 was, from that list of 5, what would be our number 1 project that we would want to say, we would want to advocate for this project to move forward. So we're looking at essentially moving a total project list of about 60 to 65 down to about 15, so that when we meet with the joint JTC, the Joint Transportation Commission, that we're able to talk about not only is that there are some funding needs, but also here are the top prioritized projects from each jurisdiction or stakeholder that are involved with Lane Act that we would be able to say, this is what we would like to move forward. So as a reminder, what we talked about last year, which I think are still relevant today, is we talked about the jog, and that was our number 1 project that we talked about last year. And we actually broke that apart into a couple of different things. So there was the whole kit and caboodle, right? Like doing the whole project of the jog, or if the $12 million ferry didn't show up, to be able to fund that, looking at smaller pieces of that. So one was some lane realignment, in particular, just right, where the lanes are badly misaligned, and you feel like you're going to drive into the sidewalk if you're going to drive straight. And then also adding some additional pedestrian safety right in that area. The other piece to that was also looking at, so I think it's Front Street, but it's Highway 99 as it goes this way, like into Cottage Grove. Because it badly needs resurfacing. There are some sidewalk needs, there are some bike ped needs. So So bike pedestrian needs, because there's a lot of times, especially those who are using wheelchairs, need to go into the lane of traffic in order to be able to get where they need to go. And we have a railway crossing that is also unprotected, right? People can just walk over the railroads, and that may or may not be the safest decision, but sometimes we make the decision based off of the shortest distance to get from where you're at to where you want to go.
Just a really quick question for clarification, just, is 99, that piece that you're talking about, that's ODOT responsibility right there? Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, so essentially, it's the piece that comes in kind of by the post office and the Dairy Mart, and then it makes the jog, right, goes over the top of the railroad crossing, and then it turns at the Fast Mart and Deck Tie, and it turns to go down to 99 down to Cottage Grove.
Okay.
Yeah, great clarifying question. We also talked about the needs for working on South 2nd Street. We talked about the needs of adding sidewalks to South 10th Street. And then we also talked about the needs of adding a intersection or some sort of traffic light on northbound 182. And we actually put in 6 different priorities.
What's 182?
Exit 182, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Northbound I-5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you come off of I-5, you're traveling north, and you got Dairy Queen and Dollar Tree and the Comfort Inn. That's kind of a wild intersection sometimes, so, and when I say
Very
sometimes.
difficult one to navigate,
Yeah.
especially for those people coming off the freeway.
Yeah, or pedestrians who.
I've seen some hairiness with
Yep.
a guy on a bike and stuff almost getting hit, so that was kind of scary.
Yep. So we have some really top-level, high-priority needs. And if we were to take this and say, this is our number 1 need, so that I can move that forward, there's a timeline for needing to do this, or needing to have this conversation, because we're meeting with JTC at the end of June. And so we have tasked all of our members to come back to the May meeting with, here's your number 1, which is why I'm talking about it now. So with that was really the majority of our meeting that we had just a few weeks ago, is covering that. So my sense is, based off of the energy and based on the conversations that we had last year around this point in time, is that the jog would still be our number 1 priority. But I also don't want to speak out of turn as we're prioritizing projects.
So you want us to give you a decision tonight?
Yes, please, just because of the shortened timeline.
I'll vote for the jog.
Yeah, I second that. Not that we're having an official vote, but.
It's only one opinion, so I'm giving it to the jog.
Well, for people who are visiting our location, coming into town, maybe stopping for gas, maybe McDonald's and Taco Bell, that intersection is going to be the most important to them. They won't pay any attention to the other. For people who live in this town, the jog is more important. There's been too many times that all of us, if we've ever negotiated, that came close to getting in a car wreck on that, because I ended up screaming as a passenger because my sister was trying to negotiate that. I didn't realize that I did it, but she's negotiated that corner dozens of times, but still has difficulty doing that. And they're more likely to be an accident at that corner than there is at the other. So I want both, but you know.
Well, I would always advocate for the jog. Having said that, people in Creswell have been working on that jog for more years than I can count. And some progress has been made, but it is such a huge task to really address it. So I'm just not that optimistic right now that we're going to address it. So while I will put in a first vote for that, I would have some other votes that I think maybe are more realistic and doable. So Highway 99 out here, for everybody who ever uses it, I mean, that road is virtually falling apart. And there is no sidewalk, and it's in such bad shape, I think the people at Point S might, in a sense, be happy that all of our tires are, but it's terrible, Highway 99. So, and the state really needs to come in and do something on that. So I would love to think the state would say, okay, we need to do something there. The intersection out here, knowing that in the next 12 months, we're gonna have a Taco Bell, we're gonna be getting close to McDonald's, we're a hot spot for U of O because of the hotel, we have golfers, that intersection is used a lot right over here. And I think it's amazing we haven't had a fatality there yet. And again, that's the state intersection. They've got to know about that. So I feel like I'm more optimistic, thinking that we may actually get someplace if we said, just come down and drive Highway 99 here one time. Or think about what we have going on out there. So I would easily be swayed to vote for either one of the other two as the top one, because I think that maybe there's a better chance that we actually get it done. And I'd love to get something done in Creswell.
I just would like to add a couple other to his list. One is we have that Tesla charging station. Huge charging station on I-5. And then also, our gas stations are known up and down I-5 for being the cheapest. So we get a lot of people turning into that area to get gas. I've talked to lots of people who said, oh yeah, I know where Creswell is, I get gas there. So those two also add pressure to that intersection.
And to tie into that again, I regularly run into people at the bakery who have out-of-state license plates. So we just have a lot of people who are navigating that intersection, and it's only going to increase. How many fold will it increase with Taco Bell, McDonald's? I would just make a guess. So I would rather get something done than shoot for the moon and not get any closer.
I would propose that that's what they want us to do. They want us to stop focusing on the real problem, the most expensive problem. I see where you're coming from, but I also want to advocate for our citizens, and I know that's a pain point for them, and it has been for a long time. And every person that you saw at Creswell Bakery had to come across that jog. You know, so I totally don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just trying to build a case for the jog, that's all.
What entities are actually involved in that jog? City, state? Who all's part of that? Because it can't be, it's not just the state, it's not just the county, it's not just the city. The railroad did some part of whatever they were supposed to do in that area, but it's a multi-agency problem. And we'll need a multi-agency solution to it.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we hate that problem that we have to deal with, it's not something we can easily solve. We need a long-term plan on how to come about, pull all the agencies together that can help and hopefully will help in that area.
Yeah, just to speak to that a little bit, as we think about the jog itself, so that's ODOT, right? Because Highway 99. But if you were to ask most citizens of Creswell, they would think that's city property, right? Because it goes right through the middle, and I think a lot of times we use it kind of as this is the connecting point between the east and the west side. So I think that there would be some confusion there. It goes right over a railroad crossing, right? So there's that piece that has to be a major stakeholder in that as well. And I think sometimes bringing all of those groups together can be like navigating a lunar landing, right? In terms of organizing, and so I would agree. I think there's a lot of stakeholders that would need to come to the table to just in that area, just that intersection, to be able to manage that.
Right. That's why I would, as much as I'd like to see it solved, I don't see that the money would solve that problem. But, we need to figure out what we need to do to solve that.
I know that we've made proposals to them on ways that could ease the problem, not eliminate it, but just ease it. And those should be automatic. Those are cheap, those are doable, and they should not have to be on a prioritization list. And and additionally, I don't think that the stoplight coming off, or a light coming off of northbound I-5 should be on a list. Those should just be part of how they do business. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be something that we could, sorry for interrupting. This is something that we could just give, this is a list that we could give to the JTC to be able to say like, here are our top needs. And so if we want to like kind of point your head to pay attention to any one thing in particular, pay attention to these things, because this is where all of the jurisdictions and our stakeholders involved with Lane Act have said, this is where you should be paying attention to. And I agree.
Did you mention what kind of budget overall for everyone? Did you give us a number on that?
So I don't have a kind of a budget of like, here's how much could be covered. Because to be perfectly honest, the maintenance needs are going to be so intense that we may not even be able to move forward any projects in the 25 session. Right? Because I want to be honest. But I think if we're looking at ways that we could leverage money, right? So like, for example, if we look at leveraging Highway 99, right? Kind of the piece that goes right alongside the railroad tracks. That's something that we could probably leverage maintenance money to be able to move that project forward, right? Because there is such a need for resurfacing, adding sidewalks. There's potential bike ped money that we could leverage, potential safe routes to school money that we could leverage there as well. So, so I don't know that we have a shot at getting the whole 12 million. But if we wanted to break it up into a smaller piece, that could be a piece that could be prime for people being able to say an easy yes or an easier yes.
Well, my sense is to focus on the citizens that are here every day, so that's why I vote for the jog. I live on the other side of town, so that light affects me and I don't need it, so I'm, trying to think of everyone on that one, other than personally, but I agree with you, Mayor, and a little bit of trying to see if we can get any money at all. So is your sense to ask for less and try and get less? Because I'm with Councilor Holt over there. That might be their plan is, oh, that seems like too much, so don't ask for it. Or I'd rather ask for the moon and push back for it and get the moon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can ask for the moon, and then it's kind of just, it's negotiation tactics, right? Is that like you have a big ask at first and be like, okay, so we can't do that, but what can we do for this? Or, how again, be able to leverage what money that there might be there.
Okay. I just kind of want to gauge your opinion since you're at the meetings and you got a feeling where it might go.
I also want to let you know that the proposal that they have can be phased in. So they can do one part, and then they can do the next part, and then, save the heavy lifting for last. But there's definitely low-hanging fruit that they can go after at a reasonable expenditure level.
I can't imagine a traffic light and some sidewalks off the freeway could really be that expensive.
Well, a traffic light is, $1 million. So that's a pretty big, project.
It's inexpensive in the grand scheme of it, in my opinion, but yeah. Perspective.
Yeah. There's some turn lane things that they could do at the jog. That is just repainting and changing the flow of traffic without really remodeling the intersection. And to me, that's kind of a no-brainer that they ought to just do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that they get as many complaints as they get, and they're not even doing the easy stuff.
Not even nothing at all.
So they may choose to address the jog, but they may do the low-hanging fruit, which would be an advance.
Again, it's something
Wouldn't
which
solve
is
it, but
what we're looking for.
would be helpful. And then, the thing also I think that needs to be looked at is improving Harvey to be another entryway into the city,
I agree.
which is a rail crossing. So, that needs to be thought of as well. I think if people could, bypass that intersection, that would help it too.
Like you said, it's gonna take multiple municipalities, because I'm sure the railroad, they have an easement. I have an easement with them where it's our property line, but they have to maintain it. Well, I guarantee you they have to maintain at least to the road, so they do have some capability there of managing that for us.
Yeah, they do have a lot of power.
Is Harvey the one with the tight corner?
The one with the.
You come off
yeah,
99
the
and, okay.
45, yeah, that.
A lot of people go to take the kids to school that way, so I agree, that's definitely a good avenue to view to get into Creswell another way.
So how about if we make sure we hear from Councilor Castillo and Councilor Kent, and then we can move towards giving you our thought, our decision, how's that?
Can you refresh my memory on how did South Second Street make the list, being that this is ODOT funds?
Yeah, so originally, when we were told to come up with our top priorities, is they said, don't feel like you need to limit yourself just to ODOT.
Okay.
Or, state managed
Okay.
funds. And so we said South Second Street is a priority for us and is part of our transportation.
Sure.
Or part of our TSP.
Yes, okay. So, and the reason I ask is that would be great to get funding to help South Second Street. That really affects a lot of people here in town, and it's in really bad shape. And two, I too am not very optimistic for the jog or that traffic light, because I've heard about that for so long. I'll never forget, in one of these meetings, one of these conversations, was Sergeant Denham, I believe, said that it will take a fatality before anything is done there. And you had just mentioned that you're surprised there hasn't been a fatality there. But that kind of struck out at me, It would be great to have one, especially with, looking at the future of that traffic. It's going to be a fiasco. I mean, it's not going to get better. But anyway, so I'm not very optimistic about those two big projects. If there was any chance at all to get some of that 12 million to go towards South Second Street, I think that would be awesome. But I was just curious, because I know it has, all of these are ODOT property, except for South Second Street, right?
Except for South Second Street and South 10th Street. for
Okay, so the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And two, speaking of the sidewalks, I know you said that was for maintenance, where there is no sidewalks at all. That's not considered maintenance, is it? We gotta have them first before you can do
Before you can do
maintenance?
maintenance.
I'm just curious, maybe that's a technicality there. They said, that's not technically maintenance. We could do maintenance on the road.
Right. Well, if they're doing any road work, right, so if they're doing any maintenance there, then that means that they need to look at what is the overall, what's the overall situation with that piece of road? And is there an obligation, once they start doing any work, to then build
Sure.
in sidewalks?
So, my priorities, I would say the jog, of course, the traffic light, but not very optimistic. And South Second Street. Or somewhere that we're gonna, somewhere that's gonna put us in the game to actually get something done,
Yeah.
So, maybe that's not the answer you're looking for, but.
Clark?
Well, I'm new, I don't have this experience, so I rely a lot on listening to everybody, what I see in the Facebook groups, and great explanations from City Manager Amber as well, help inform me, help me make decisions. I would be up for going for the jog and doing something for the citizens, even if they say no, just keep pressing. There might be a piece somewhere of something that they can do, even if it's not everything that they want.
I just want to say that if indeed the jog is chosen to be funded, that we make sure that they make a long-term commitment to do all of the phases and not just do one phase and say, hey, we helped you. Now you continue to complain. It needs to be understood that there are many phases that need to be done and we need a commitment throughout. Thank you.
Okay, so should we move towards a council direction? Yes?
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's helpful, here's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
It sounds like we're in favor of moving the jog forward, but probably not with the realization that the $12 million ferry isn't going to show up, likely. So if we look at the phases, so for in particular, thinking about resurfacing the maintenance needs that are on, so Front Street, Highway 99, kind of going out to Cottage Grove, if we could get that with some resurfaced, some sidewalks, right, that would be a huge win for the city of Creswell, and also looking for the long-term commitment that is phase one of a multi-part project. And also add the light.
How much of what you're talking about, the 99 efforts with the sidewalks and stuff, there's no sidewalks now. So in its current state, wouldn't some of that just be maintenance, and wouldn't it theoretically not have to fall under this special funding?
Yeah, so, that would all be maintenance out there, right? And I think once they start work there to even do maintenance, then they also need to look at the rest of the street.
Sure, okay.
That area is, has some difficulties because of the frontage that has to be established there. It hasn't been undertaken by them because of the frontage issues. They just haven't wanted to undertake that level of effort, I think. And, if they do choose it, that would spruce up that part of town beautifully. That's one of our unfortunate looking areas, I think, especially when you've got the train parked on one side with all of its graffiti, and then you have the other side looking as it does. And so, yeah, it would be very exciting to get that done, and it probably won't be done as maintenance because of those frontage issues and parking. So, yeah.
So before we make our decision, I want to say if there's members of the public who would like to give their input as to what they think the priority is.
So,
Please stand and tell us your name for the record.
my name is Bill Kent, and mine is more of a question. On the jog, since, the cheapest I've ever heard was paint. Just paint what you want to happen. You can't paint sidewalks, you can't paint anything, but you can paint that. And given the fact that ODOT never actually does anything anyway in 20 or 30 years, if we just painted it, would it take a citizen complaint to get ODOT to do anything about it? And given the fact they never do anything anyway, what would ever happen? Would they fine the city and say, oh my gosh, you painted it and didn't have our permission? And in that case, we say, well, we're gonna let the paint wear off. Just what would be the consequences of just doing it?
Manager Amber, you're the one who can answer that.
Are you talking about painting what's there already?
Yeah, what exists, because everybody's talking about, well, if we just painted where you can't do this, you can't do that, and the arrow says you do this.
Okay, that's different. I hear that differently.
Yeah.
I hear that as changing the flow through the intersection.
Well, you are, but it's the citizens of Creswell, and who's gonna complain?
ODOT.
Yeah, but they never do
ODOT
anything.
will come down on us because we changed it without a traffic study.
What would they, okay,
They
come
would
down.
make us remove it.
And we said, yeah, we're gonna, because the paint's gonna wear off,
No, they would give us a timeline to remove it.
like 10 days, 2
Like-
weeks.
Yeah.
It would be the fastest they ever did anything.
True.
They have a ability to immediately come down on the city, and I'm not gonna guarantee what they're gonna do, but that is, you asked me what was the.
Would it escalate your complaint about the jog up their list, like, dadgum,
Oh,
It
No.
wouldn't push it up, okay.
I don't think so either.
I just thought, do it.
Good question, yeah, no.
Might land a citizen in jail, but.
Any other questions, comments from members of the public? Mr. Anderson, please stand and tell us your name.
Mike Anderson, and I live on North 5th Street here in town. Several years ago, I was on city council like you guys are, and we met with ODOT one time, and I really understand your frustration. Those guys at that time wanted to redo the road from the freeway in, but they wanted to have a petition in the middle so that when you come off the freeway, you couldn't go to the gas station on the left, you couldn't go to anybody on the left, you had to stay to the right-hand side till you came through, across the tracks, somehow turned a U-turn and went back. It was ridiculous, and they would not change their mind. But like I said, I feel for your frustration. If I had to say, I'd just fix the streets as good as you can, get the holes out, but, or cover them up or whatever, but no, they're quite an organization. I guess that's a nice way to put it.
Okay, so let's just go around. We'll start here. Just give us your number one. We're going to go around, then we'll tally them.
The jog.
The judge.
Oh, I would do the light intersection of I-5 coming from the south. I think it's something that can be done.
Jog. I also would like the jog.
Do we get more than one vote?
You just want the top priority.
I'm just to be different, I guess. I would say South Second Street, and then the traffic light, and then the jog.
I'll go for the jog, even though you heard my other comments, because ODOT consistently hears from us the jog. Over and over and over, they hear it. And others in the region who are on Lane Act hear that same thing too. So I kind of hate to change our tune in a sense. I want them to keep hearing, Creswell says the jog, the jog, the jog, and with hope that someday, Mike, maybe they'll get the message. So you have your answer, right?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll just say, and maybe you can just take the majority of the votes and go with that, because I would solely support the jog, for sure.
Manager Amber?
And if we keep asking for a pony, maybe we'll get a bicycle.
Okay, very good.
Just one last comment.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that in addition to us doing things like this, letters from our community members to ODOT
Absolutely.
about their concerns would be very, very welcome and super helpful.
That's very powerful, actually.
Is there a way to put like a link on the website where citizens could upload letters to, or a link to, or an email to something we can actually hear the cries? Because that's the problem with government. It's hard to get to somebody who actually knows what they're doing or is responsible for anything.
Well, here'd be a thought. Charlie Conrad is well versed in our needs and has been working to try to get this before the legislature. And one of the conversations with Charlie, he asked us the question, is this something you're ready for the 2025 legislature to address? If not, then we need to look a little further down the road and make sure all of our ducks are in a row so that when it's presented well. So letters to our legislator can also be helpful, as well as ODOT. And his information, you can get that out to everybody. We can get that on our website. Here's what we're doing, please.
Well, that's what-
He's another advocate for us.
That's what I'm asking, is make it on the website. Now that's new and fancy and people are going after it, it's a good time to put a link of, hey, if you want to see the jog fixed, send a letter here.
I think that's a great suggestion. Going straight to an individual at ODOT might look a little aggressive. And,
Not always a bad thing.
well,
Kind of my approach.
it can also turn people
Backfire.
away, yes.
And along the same lines, on our website, by chance, do we have links for contacting our representatives that represent Creswell?
I can check it.
Okay. Just if not, that might be an idea too. Just to have all the time, not just this time.
That's a great
Your
suggestion.
local representative, little tab or something where,
Or all of them, state, federal, yeah.
But I'm shocked at how many people, and
hard.
just don't know who their state reps are or their state senator, right? And I fell into that category at one point in my life, so it's easy to lose
hard to
sight of
find.
that.
We had one other hand go up out here.
Yeah, Mike Johnson, Superintendent of School District, and listening to the discussion, and it's quite interesting, looking for ways to support it, what you're trying to get here, and just had a thought about student, staff safety, school safety, and if safe routes to school might not be able to help us out with traffic concerns that might be coming down the road, and could maybe get in our favor on that.
Yes.
I was wondering
Amber.
Counselor Clark was going to address safe routes to school. There's some good news.
Well, I think you should.
So let's close the one
Okay.
conversation. You have your answer.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And you still have the floor for Lane Act.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say this answers all of my Lane Act questions for right now, so thank you for this input. Like I said, I had a sense of where we were at, but this helps me kind of strengthen the narrative of what it is that we need and why we need it and why does it matter, not only to the city, but also each individual person. So this is good. Good, powerful, I like powerful information, or compelling information.
Okay, did you have a safe routes to school update?
I was gonna say, I will turn it over to Manager Amber for a safe routes to school update.
She's so excited for this.
Well,
She can't hardly stay.
actually, it's great news. Curtis let me know that our grant application has moved on to the next phase, which is wonderful. We've never made it to the next phase. And it represents a $600,000 investment in getting our kids safely to school. So that's great news, and we're hoping that it continues.
Yay, thank
How many
you.
phases are there? This cautious optimism at this point.
No, this is really good for us.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. This was a coalition approach, and in cooperation with the school and their staff and the county, and I think the collaboration is paying off.
So do you think this little different approach is what made the difference to go to phase 2?
That's a really good question. I've seen cities get safe route to school easily. For some reason, it's been really difficult for us. They actually have a person who's now a safe routes to school coordinator in the county who is helping nurse this through the process, and I think she's making a big difference.
Okay, great, great. Good work.
Anything further in Lane Act?
We'll meet in May, so if you would like to attend, it's online and I will share a link.
I was just going to ask if it was online.
It is.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go back to Alonzo.
Oh, sure,
And
sure.
turn over to you for Airport Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. I see now that our chair, Jim Ordoso, is here to give us our annual report. Take it away, Jim.
Thank you, Councilor Castillo, Mayor, Council. Pleased to be here this evening. For those of you who are new, I see some new faces. This is our annual report from the Airport Commission, your Airport Commission. We're advisory to the City Council, so we're here to do that. So for just by way of background, we are working off a strategic vision that was developed, it's going on to 7 years ago now. That's basically to be an asset for the Southern Willamette Valley and to provide benefits to the citizens of Creswell. I screwed up last year and said the citizens of Eugene because I lived in Eugene, or I worked in Eugene for quite a while and reported their city council. The city of Creswell, that's where we are today. So I'd like to talk to you about what the airport is. It's a capital asset, very expensive to maintain and improve. And so our first goal, a strategic goal, is to basically keep the airport in good working order and improve it as we can. We're really fortunate to have an airport manager that's kind of a rainmaker when it comes to getting federal funds. I heard you struggle about getting highway money. Shelley Humble's been remarkable in her ability to get federal funds for the airport, and I'd have to say probably over the last 7 to 8 years we've been working under this strategic vision. She's made possible, I would say on the order of $10 million worth of FAA grants at very minimal cost to the city. So that's a big chunk of what we deal with quite a bit, is just the physical infrastructure and paying for it. And one of the things that came out of the strategic visioning process and the strategic plans. We're on our second 5-year period of our working the strategic vision. Was that it's incumbent on the airport users to demonstrate that there's value to the citizens. And we landed on 2 basic initiatives to do that. One was to forge a partnership with the school district and have the airport community support the schools in developing a science and technology engineering program for the public schools. And we no sooner did that than all heck broke loose with COVID and changing school administrators and so on and so forth. But really pleased that we are making some good progress on that. We've got representative from the school district and also our school representative on the airport commission that can give you the details on that. So I look forward to doing that. The third thing, the third major goal and the second way that we hope to demonstrate value to the citizens is that establishing the Creswell Airport as a regional disaster response and recovery facility. And again, money has come in to do that from the FAA and from other sources. We have Emergency Operations Center there. Some of the things we want to report is, progress on getting emergency communications. So there are generators out there, emergency generators. So we're making major headway on that goal. So that's kind of the highlights. The specifics, we kind of get into the first one. One of the major things that was done last year was, we finished up the runway and completely dug the runway up and replaced it. Got some new lighting on it, lighting that's helpful to pilots. They can now see the runway from both directions at night. We have that. We also made some major plan to replace the taxiways on the north side of the airport. Taxiways on the south side have been replaced. And so the north side, the plan is complete. We're awaiting some environmental clearance on some environmental issues at the moment, but we'll get started on that. Major component, and it's not necessarily the airport per se, but bringing wastewater system and water to the airport users. We see that as being a watershed event, unintended, I guess, that will kind of kick off or facilitate additional business development and residency by airport users. One of the dynamics that's going on right now is that small general aviation aircraft are being, you might say, discouraged or almost kicked out of the Eugene Airport. So their costs are going way up. They're really making it clear that they just assume they not be there. And so if we could, one of the things we're planning here is that through the finance director's efforts and some financing that we'll be able to build some hangars. And we know that there's pent-up demand for hangars at the Creswell Airport. You can't almost go into a meeting with airport users and not hear that they really need hangars and they're willing to pay for them. So that's a piece of infrastructure that is coming up. There are also a lot of, I don't want to go through the whole list, but that would take a long time because there are quite a few things that have been happening at the airport, quite a bit of infrastructure that's being developed in a lot of different ways. I think what I can do now is I could turn it over to our representatives from the school district and hear about how we're going along with the partnership with the school district.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and council members, again, I'm Mike Anderson, and I'll give you a real quick brief history of the relationship between the airport and the city. Pre-COVID, we had a teacher that was trained to teach people how to fly drones, and they could get a certificate for that. And real quick, COVID hit and got it all messed up. She moved to LA and COVID shut down everything, and so it was kind of everything stopped. And since that time, we've gotten really excited because in the last year, I think we've hired a teacher out of Alaska that's had 15 years of airplane maintenance training, and that's what he did. He's teaching our class now. We have 4 classes at the high school, all about aviation, starting from the first one's basically an introduction to flight with manned and unmanned planes. Then the next year is getting into the basic aerodynamics of small and large aircraft and different aircraft systems. Third year, it's going to be more principles of flight, procedures and regulations, with the idea at the end of the class they can pass a pilot's written test. And then the fourth class they're going to have is all about unmanned flight. But they've really stepped it up over there. They've got the classes involved. They've got the kids going, and it's getting really exciting. The principal and I went, high school principal and I went out to EAA building meeting one night, and the results of that were that we've got 6 or 8 kids now. Every Wednesday afternoon, they're going out to the airport, and these pilots are basically one-on-one with the kids or one-on-2, but they're teaching the kids how to put together a kit airplane. And a rumor has it that they're going to take it down to Cottage Grove and fly it once they get it put together. And I don't know if that has to do with insurance or what, but I'm really excited about that. My goal has been, since we started this, to when I get an opportunity to hand out diplomas at the end of the year, I want to give out a diploma and I want to get them out a pilot's license. I think that would be really, really cool. And the coordination with the pilots and the schools, it couldn't be better. Those pilots are a great group, and they're doing everything they can to help us out, get these kids started. And we're in the process. Well, Mike Johnson came, and I'd like him to talk to you about the new building we're putting in that's going to assist in what we're doing with this. So Mike, you want?
Sure, just to give you a few highlights on where we're at. As you know, we went out 5 years ago to develop a vision and a strategic plan for the school district to be the premier school district in the state. That's our vision. And along with that was one of the goals that came up from the community and from our students was to create a high-flying, no pun intended, career center. Something that would provide pathways for all students and the opportunities that they would need to go out and go to work. And so that plan is unfolding now for that CTE building. We've hired our engineering and architectural firm, Sanderstrom, and we're working with them. Currently, we're gathering data from the community on what that center should look like. We want to know what our students want. We want to know what our community feels we need in it. And we're getting that information through surveys and community forums that have already started. And once we gather all that information, then we'll pull in the Oregon Employment Division and their data on what the highest demand occupations are in Creswell and Lane County and then across the state. We want to grow our own to stay home. That's the motto. So we will cross-check the information we get from our community with that Oregon Employment Division data, and then we'll prioritize the programs that we'll want in this career center. Once we establish that and get our list together, we'll go out for community partners, business partners in the endeavors for the pathways. For example, if we go automotive and diesel, who would want to come in partnership with us on that? We want state-of-the-art equipment. Would they sponsor that or provide it? The airport and the commission, would we have simulators in there, things like that. So we'll be going out and we'll be doing some fundraising, sponsorships, and things of that nature. The building will be 10 to 15,000 square feet. The cost will range from 7 to 10 million. And that's kind of where we are. We look to break ground this summer and to open up in full operation by fall 2025.
Wow.
Any questions?
A question from a member of the public. Tell us your name.
Bill Kent, and there's some homeschool kids in the community. Is that open to them too?
It's open to all kids.
Okay.
Yep. In fact, we have in our vision, as we're developing that, we'll be looking for opportunities to have night schools for young parents, night school programs. Our connection is to LCC, so they're getting college credit while they're in the courses here, of course. But that's to get certificates when they graduate from high school or move on to if they choose to go to post-secondary institutions, continue on. But that's the dream. That's where we're going.
Great.
Good.
Yes?
Any idea how many new teachers you may be looking at?
Well, that's an interesting question. So, when I arrived here, we had 3 CTE programs. We now are running 7 pathways, and we'll bring the 8th in next year with the aviation pathway. The federal government is really pushing for career education right out of high school. So we are building it because it's going to come. So when those grants come out, we'll have a place to house those programs or pull that funding in to get teachers in there to expand the programs. So, in a facility like that with 4 bays, shops in combination with bays, and then classrooms of about the same number, 4 to 6, we could have, 8 to 15 teachers working in there throughout a day and night. If it goes into the night school aspect of it, we're serving the entire South County here, then we could be looking at, a full academy.
Great, thank you.
Is this fully funded by the bond measure? Mostly funded?
No, it is fully funded by the bond, the construction of it, but we are going to get in-kind donations. We've already had people approach us about that, wanting us to have the state-of-the-art facilities. So we'll take advantage of that. Sure, we won't say no to anything that way. But then we are also going out to garner other sponsors and partners in this too. It's a big need, especially out here in the south end of the valley.
I've spoken to a few owners and operators of logging companies, and it's something I think they're actually racking their brain around, would like to get involved with too. I don't know how far or how serious they are, but the few that are very serious about what they do have definitely wanted your information particularly and how they can kind of get involved and what they can help with to create that pathway for that career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll have the construction shop going. We want to mill our wood, it's kind of, and we'll bring in other partners, and we can expand that building anytime there's a need to do it. That's the type of building that we are going to build.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
We all are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike.
So I'll come back and talk about our third goal, which is a disaster response, disaster prep goal. And I don't have to think too far back about our own little disaster we had right here in Creswell last fall, or well, last spring. Disasters are getting more and more commonplace, and they're getting more frequent, and they're happening in more places. And there was some foresight shown back 10 years ago or 8 years ago when part of the strategy for the airport included making Creswell a regional disaster response center, first and foremost for its own citizens, and to have the airport play prominently in that. So now there are some assets over at the airport that are ready for a disaster. Airport happens to be located above the floodplain, which is very helpful. It might be on the wrong side of the highway, which maybe isn't all that helpful. But that was the direction that we launched on, you know, I want to say 7, 8 years ago. And we're making major progress in that area. Personally, I've got kind of a passion for public benefit flying. I've flown a lot for Angel Flight West, taking people to medical appointments and things of that nature. So part of the effort here at Creswell has got me interested in disaster airlift work. And started a not-for-profit, the Oregon Disaster Airlift Response Team. It's off a model that's being used in Washington, California. Principally starts at local airports, but essentially it's to provide airlift response to a disaster. Back in the COVID, a lot of PPE got flown around by private pilots and volunteer pilots and volunteer airplanes. So what we practice for at ODART is the big earthquake, to be able to respond to inundation and coast, loss of life, severe property damage. So we're beginning to work on the regional aspect. ODART is composed of 4 staging airports. There was one at Bend, one at Aurora, one at Albany, and due to the efforts that have been undertaken here, there's one at Creswell. So our effort, we're looking for, there's state funding available right now for disaster response and resiliency work, and so we're putting in for some grants to basically have pre-staged emergency supplies, not only first and foremost for our Creswell residents, but to make those available to the other 3 areas and beyond throughout the whole state. So major inroads have been made the last 2 years. Did a tabletop exercise with people from the county, and the school district was involved in, what would we do? So we're going from the infrastructure or the supply stage to what would we actually do, more the practices and the procedures that we would undertake in the event. So, and that's really, quite frankly, as necessary and as vital as having the equipment and supplies is, deciding how would we react to. So that's our report. We had a couple other items that we should talk with you about, and I don't know how you wanted to handle this, Shelley, but we have tied up.
I have a question. Maybe we can see if there's any questions from the report so far.
Okay.
You mentioned, and I hadn't really thought of this before, but our whole ice storm brought it up, that our emergency center is on the other side of the freeway. So, I'm thinking of Aurora. Much of the population there is all on that side of the freeway. But what's our plan for if we had an emergency where we needed supplies in Creswell, and we've talked about the high school as the gymnasium as being a possible place in an emergency for housing people and showers and things like that and meals and things. How would we get it from the airport into Creswell proper?
There's some confusion about that. What's at the airport is the Emergency Operations Center. That is where the professionals will meet to coordinate logistics and things like that. It is not for citizens to get to. It is a hub where professionals come together and they figure out how to manage the situation. The things you're talking about, which trickle down to everybody, we will be having a meeting this Thursday regarding applying for a resiliency hub grant and to become a resiliency hub in Creswell, and that will have discussions, and the school district's been invited, Jim's been invited, and we're gonna sit down and talk about what we need to do to make this a hub and make sure that we have resources available and where those resources should go. That's all part of the discussion. It might be that we keep them all in Public Works, cots and all the things that people need. But yeah, I don't want people to be confused that think that they have to go to the airport. No one should go to the airport unless you have a direct role in addressing the emergency at hand.
Well, you've kind of answered my question. My thought was not people going to the airport, which I agree, we don't want to get that message to people, all flock to the airport. But bringing in, airlifting in necessary supplies to the airport that might be needed on this side of town. But you're saying that we may end up stockpiling what we need and putting it out of Public Works or other places on this side of town.
Areas where we have storage, yeah. Which will make more sense. And if things land at the airport, Shelley has thoughtfully asked for and received funding and purchased an all-wheel all-terrain vehicle that can be used in that situation. Additionally, I do think we'll be able to get across the freeway because I think the bridges could be down. And so all it would require is somebody with some earth-moving equipment to put a pathway across the freeway to the airport if we needed it. Additionally, helicopters are wonderful. The school has lots of room, can land a helicopter there. If we had to load things up at the airport and bring them over to the high school, we could do that. We also have, Garden Lake Park, we have some big pieces of land that are undeveloped that we could use for helicopter landing. So I don't think it's going to be one of the top things we spend a lot of money on, although we need to think strategically about how to access those resources in the event of a large-scale emergency, which we will do on Thursday this week.
Good, thank you. That was all I had.
Okay, well, we've been working on a couple of projects. I mean, one that I mentioned at hangars, so that there are hangars coming to the airport, new construction, you might see from the highway. We'll get started on the new master plan, which I personally believe that's kicking off the next strategic plan for the airport, because a lot of strategic issues will have to be addressed in that master plan. So that's a highlight. We did do a meeting, I know it's kind of housekeeping meeting, but we cleaned up our frequency of meetings when we meet at the Airport Commission. And then we're working on a tie-down policy right now, which we're not quite finished with, but we should have it within a few weeks.
So I have a question on the frequency of meetings. Reading the cover page here, it says the commission requests that Creswell Municipal Code, anyways, the numbers, wording changed. Is that something the council needs to take action on? So that'll be coming to the council?
Yeah, you're the only ones who can change the municipal code.
Okay.
It is a law set by city council, so it can only be amended by city council.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim about the report? You did a great job.
Thank you.
Back to Alonzo. Do you have anything further for us, Alonzo?
No, I'll just say that it is an honor and privilege to be working with these folks, and you see the report, and they've just done a lot of stuff out there, and there's a lot going out at the airport that really doesn't get a lot of recognition, but it's there, and it's important, and it's of great value to the city of Creswell. Thank you, guys.
And yes, I want to say thank you to Jim and Mike and Mr. Dodson for coming tonight, for serving on our airport commission, and Mike for all the work you've done at school. And you present some pretty exciting visions for us, what's happening. So thank you all for coming tonight, very much.
Is this draft in here? Is this the draft that's being worked on?
It is the draft.
Okay.
That was the first brush stroke.
Yeah.
It's changed quite a bit since then. It'll change And we'll have schedules, so when we're at Hella Base during the summer for for helicopters for fighting fires, it's gonna have its own schedule as well as the regular schedule for tie downs.
I was just asking, so was the typo throughout the thing caught where every FI combination was replaced by an upside down apostrophe? Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes, that's the only reason I wanted to ask. It's throughout the whole document. I
Yes,
think,
it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, I'll double check that, thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Okay, so I think we go to our audit report.
All right.
Manager Amber?
We're asking that this be postponed to the May work session.
We don't get to hear the audit jokes tonight?
Not tonight.
Those are always good.
I knew these would work.
Okay, so we go to our discussion items. First one is update of fees for city services. And is this a Jim report?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, City Councilors, the resolution you have before you is a draft that will be coming up at the next City Council meeting. There were three things addressed with city fees. The first being the demolition permit fee is no longer under the jurisdiction of the Building Codes Division. So now it just becomes a city fee and it needs to be adopted in the city fee schedule. We left it at the $50 that it was previously. And so that is the first change. The second change is we added a tech fee. So a tech fee covers the credit card processing fees. We just absorbed those over time when people pay for permit fees using a credit card rather than cash or check. It's something we adopted with our building permit fees. We added the tech fee to cover those charges, and now we're asking that the City Council also add that to the fee schedule for public works permits. The third item, that third item is a demo permit fee. I'm sorry, the first item was the lien search fee. The lien search fee is partially, we pay a service fee to the third-party company that hosts our website for companies to go on and do lien searches on, and that fee's gone up. So we're just asking the City Council to consider raising that fee from $25 to $30 per lien fee. That's paid by the mortgage title companies, and they're aware of this fee increase. It's gone statewide. I do have one more addition as well. I talked to our building permit tech, Angela Kepler. Amazing that we stole her away from Cottage Grove because she has so much experience with building permits and she stays up on the latest regulations. She pointed out that under section 7A on page 3 of 3, the residential fence construction permit fee of $25, we can no longer charge that. So as long as someone puts in a residential fence that meets the, I believe it's 6 foot, I don't have it here tonight to confirm that, but I believe it's a 6 foot fence. No one needs a permit for that anymore. BNC will still stay on the schedule. If they want a variance for, say, an 8 foot fence, then they'd have to go through the planning process and get that fee approved, or application approved, so there's a fee for that, and the appeal fee if they go to appeals. So BNC will become A and B, and A will drop off the schedule. Okay.
So it's dropping off the schedule, does that mean that you do not have to apply? If you're replacing your fence, you just replace it?
If it's 6 feet or less. We no longer have a fence requirement for a permit.
I had a question on that. I know from the sidewalk, if your property line, so from the sidewalk to your property, or through your property, isn't there a 20 or 25 foot restriction on 6 foot? Like it has to be either shrubs or it can only be a 3 foot wooden fence? And that's the way I understood it.
It's on a corner for sight. So if you have a corner where people would pull up and need to see both directions, then it has to be a 3 foot fence?
Okay, because I built a fence about 10 years ago and I came to that issue where I was not on a corner, but was close to it, but it could only be 3 foot if it wasn't bushes or shrubs or trees. It could only be 3 foot, and up to 20 foot, and then I could go 6 feet.
As far as I know, the requirement is only for sightline,
Okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
line of sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it
Yeah,
was,
really
I
good
mean,
to
I
know. That
did-
helps me.
I think I would pay for the permit, because it was, guy started with, his name was a J or something like that, a couple of years back.
Jerry?
Jerry, yeah, he came out, and I never complained, but I, followed the rules, but I remember him saying, no, you got 25 foot or 20 foot, it could only go 3 feet.
Okay, any questions for Jim? Alonzo?
Just one, maybe you mentioned, I misheard, this is for replacement, I heard you say replacement, what about new fences?
Angela's been doing a lot of research into the fence permit that we used to have, and it actually is contrary to what the state requires. So our fees and our fence permitting process is no longer used.
Wow.
So long as the fence is 6 feet or shorter.
Right. If it goes over 6 feet, then there are other.
Doesn't matter if it's new. I want my $25.
Yeah. I feel like we should have never charged people to build a fence on their own property, so I'm really glad to see that this is
Okay,
being.
well,
written.
good, this is good. This is great.
The better the fences, the better the neighbors.
The fence program isn't retroactive.
Okay.
Good answer.
And I do have just one more question. And on the first memo, number 2, I guess the law changed. That's why, according to Richard Donovan at the Oregon Department of Consumer Business Service Codes Division, demolition permits are not within the scope of their authority and building fee laws. So did that just changed or something? What was it
What is it?
before? All these other years, okay?
Okay, so we have a superstar in that position right now. And I think in the past, when I started here, code was complaint driven. And then we got a person that was supposed to do it full time, but he didn't have any training. Now we have a professional in that position, and she's going through our codes and she's fine tuning them.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that triggered it too was when we went to e-permitting as well, because
That's correct.
then it had to go through the state and they reviewed them and said, well, this is ours, this isn't ours. I believe that's why this is coming up as well.
Okay, all right. That's all I got.
Any other questions?
Our permitting.
Stacy? Not Stacy. Shelley?
No, for once, not me.
Literally.
I was gonna say, so it sounds like, so the lien search fees have increased from 25 to 30. And so how long have we been missing out on $5?
It's something that's coming up. They sent out the memo. So it's part of the budget. I started getting letters from vendors saying, hey, our fees are going up.
Okay. So not yet.
Not yet.
Nick?
Our permit fees, is it modeled after the state or Eugene, or do we create our own fees for permitting?
The building development process and the fees that are involved are set by the state. So, we adopt the state's development code.
Okay.
And then we're beholden to the state. And we have a wonderful software program called, I can't remember the name. But anyway.
Acela, thank you.
Acela, thanks, yeah. That is used throughout the state, so it makes everybody equal, makes an equal playing field. And so you can monitor that to see what kind of changes are
It's
coming up.
standard throughout the state for every
Right.
town.
It standardizes, yeah, the fee collection system. It's really a great program, but very complicated, so.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that we got on the Acela because that's actually paid for through this state surcharge fees. So that program is at no cost to the city.
Stacy?
Could you give me an example what a sidewalk permit would be used for?
The sidewalk permit is the little tables with umbrellas, like at farmlands.
We had COVID and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Let
okay.
people expand
Blocking
the sidewalks.
sidewalks.
Okay, Okay.
They have
I
to
had
be-
no idea what this was in relation to.
Sidewalk
Like,
cafe fee or
like I
the
didn't know-
sidewalk permit? Because there's two of them.
The sidewalk permit.
That's under
I saw the
section
cafe one.
C6. That's something
Oh,
different.
the cafe.
Section 6, this is a permit fee for
For
construction.
construction in, right, so is that literally a permit to build the sidewalk?
I thought it was a permit to build like an overhang or an awning or some sort of covering.
So these are usually permits for construction within a public right-of-way that coincide with building a new home. So Public Works will have to go out and inspect to make sure that the sidewalk is up to
And so
code.
that's what that permit would be for?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So you're ready for this to come to us at the May council meeting, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, with that one additional, taking the fence permit fee off. as
With the
well.
what?
Taking off 7A, the
Yes.
residential fence permit.
Yep.
Will
Okay.
will we see that draft ahead in our packet next time? The corrections?
Yeah, it'll come corrected.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you are aware that it's coming as well.
Okay, I think we're good to go. So next we have the waiver of the noise ordinance for movies in the park. That's Michelle.
Yeah, I'll present this one. And Heather is sorry she can't be here tonight. She's extremely proud of this program. I don't know if you can tell from the report.
I can.
She really wanted to be here, but she has a family emergency, so she's off today. She's given you a very detailed report on the Movies in the Park program. The one hitch that we run into every year is that the movies run longer than our noise ordinance allows. So we're asking City Council to bless the program and allow it to run a little bit over as far as the time limit for noise. We've received no complaints regarding the movies in the park, and you can see her list of ways to get the information out to everyone. I assure you, everyone will be notified.
Does this require an official action from us, like at a council meeting? Because I don't ever remember doing this before.
Oh, yeah.
We did this for the bar.
Yes, but we haven't done it for movies in the park before.
No, but we fall under the same category as the bar. And when we realized that we were running long, we decided that we needed to follow the same rules as everyone
Okay.
else.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I hadn't remembered this item before. So this will come before us also in May? Okay. When we get the report, have the dates been set yet?
Yes.
Maybe when we when we address this in May, maybe we could get the dates. I'm curious what the dates were.
Well, they're in the newsletter that comes out to you every week.
Oh, okay, I will read down far enough to find that. Thank you.
I'll be happy to let her know that you'd like to know the dates.
I will just read down the newsletter far enough. That'll cover it. Council, any questions for Manager Amber?
So, refresh my memory, so do we amend the ordinance, or how does this work? You just ask for it to be, if
An
we're okay with
extension,
it?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Is it really $500 a movie?
Yeah, and we don't even buy the movies.
Why can't we just buy a DVD and get a projector or something?
Royalty, copyright.
That's illegal.
Buy the DVD and then show it at the park?
Yeah, you bet.
It's the licensing thing. Even at the church, we have to buy the licensing to show movies because you're showing it to the public.
We can't even advertise them without the licensing, so,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the world we live in.
Well, people make their living producing these, and so years ago it was explained to me in church work, because you were into doing all kinds of singing on Sundays, right? And where do you get all the songs from? Well, somebody writes them.
Good thing Jesus doesn't charge it.
So somebody explained to me the copyright law means who has the right to copy? Only the person who wrote it and owns it. It's theirs, they own it. So if they give you the right to copy it, you can copy it. Usually they ask, and in the churches, it's
I
very small.
understand copyright, I just don't, I mean, if you buy a DVD and show it, I understand the public, I understand the premise, but it seems, $500 seems insane to just show movies to kids that you can buy a DVD for $20 and.
They crack down
Get a
on
big
city
projector.
programs a lot. They look for
Way
them in
to make
the
some extra money.
summer, yeah, well, yeah, and it's interesting because we don't make any
Not
money
for us,
off
but
of
for
it,
the
yeah.
licensing of it, I mean,
Yeah,
that is a,
it's free, so you'd think that they would, not care, but they care.
yeah.
It is it sounds like a lot, but when you think of the families and the kids, it's money well spent.
I agree, but for $500 for Super Mario Brothers, like, they made a lot off that already. You can't just donate it to some kids in the park.
Stacy?
Have we historically had pretty good attendance for that? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
really, it's one of our better programs.
Oh, good, yeah.
We started off the program with Willamette. They used to run it for us, and then they said, well, you're outside of our district, we're not going to do that anymore. And so the Chamber of Commerce said, we'll continue it. We made a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. Jim tended to do a lot of the heavy lifting, so his department took it on, and now they do it each year.
Do you remember what the cost was with Willamette?
For us?
Yes.
Was it 12? Was it 12 or 14?
For Willamette, this $4,500.
45, oh,
Yes.
I'm
Because
way
they
off.
had to pay
Yeah,
staffing.
so we're
saving money.
Yeah, we're getting off pretty cheap, yeah, because I remember it would come, we would talk about it, and it seemed like it was a lot of money to do it with Willamette.
Well, we still have to pay overtime.
We do pay a staff member to do overtime. She loves it. It's like her prior work experience was in this area. I still have kids that go watch movies, and so I just go with them. And yeah, I don't mind going. It's fun. It's late enough in the evening. We usually have stuff done during the day, so we just go catch a movie in the park.
Do we get vendors or anything?
Yes. We'll have vendors. Plus, she's having nonprofits come. So each night, there'll be a nonprofit set up to give out information to the public, and a vendor set up to sell their
If a
food.
vendor wants to join into that, do you require a permit or?
Nope, they just need to contact
Just get in touch with
Heather. She's looking for them, yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see the library, Creswell Clubhouse, and Parks and Tree Board are all going to be there for some of the movies. So that was good too.
And the Parks and Tree Board agreed to table a table.
Okay, next item is Cottage Grove Creswell Recreation District. Michelle?
Yeah, this is just an information item. The city, down in Cottage Grove, they have a group of grassroots group of citizens who were interested in expanding their recreational offerings. And so they thought that they were going to get it, they thought about putting together a recreation district. And they were pushing to have it on the May ballot, but they didn't make the deadline. But they did a lot of work, and I heard about it, and I was like, well, why don't they have Creswell as part of the district? It only makes sense. We have no recreation programs, so this would allow us, if we were part of the district, to offer programming to our folks. So I talked to them. They thought that was a pretty good idea. I believe they changed the boundaries to the school district's boundaries, so it will be a contiguous large area. In order to do this, they have to get an agreement from the people who are most affected financially by it, which means that they'll have to get an agreement from the county and the two cities to allow it to go on the ballot. So I just wanted to start the discussion, let you know what they're thinking. It won't be something that I can do and get involved with, and the city staff can get involved with. The state actually makes it so that we can't be involved once it becomes a ballot item. So it will require some grassroots effort in Creswell. And I'd like to be able to, I talked to the trees, the tree board and Parks and Tree Board, and the people who lived in Creswell thought it was a great idea. The people who don't live in Creswell were not so thrilled with it. So it's just an opportunity to provide programming in our city. I do hear from parents that they wish there was something for tweens. We don't have anything for tweens, they tell me. That seems to be the most important group. It's certainly the group that we see doing vandalism at Holt Park. So it would be nice if they had something other than that activity. But again, it's something new, and I wanted to bring it to you and let you chew on it. And if you had any questions or concerns, I'd like to know them.
I definitely have a question about if something like that were to go forward and we had a recreation district, would that body then be in charge of our parks?
I would not want to turn over our parks.
No,
Absolutely
and
not.
that's the only concern I had when I read that, because we have very different ideas on how our parks should be handled and who should be in them, and then say Cottage Grove, right? And so if it was like this blanket thing, I would be out all the way.
Right.
So, but I do see a need. My concern about like the comment about the tweens is that even if we were to join this larger district, it wouldn't necessarily bring something to Creswell for tweens to do.
I think that they need to make the commitment to do that before it goes on the ballot. I think they need to work up a prospectus of what you're voting on and how it will benefit. And I think, in the beginning, it is going to be a lot of, running outdoor sport things, that can be done at the park. And I would encourage them to use the park, but not own the park. That's our land. And
that would be my issue.
I want our people to maintain it.
Yeah.
But of course, city council can do whatever they like. If you disagree with that.
Tween disc golf league would be really great, I think, and we have a place for that.
Yeah, we have horseshoes.
That's kind of what I was thinking is disc golf, but that was leading to my question was, are we creating recreation? Because other than fishing at the ponds, when I grew up here, that was all we had to do other than play sports. So right now, I don't see anything different.
Right,
Other
there's
than the
nothing.
little stuff that you guys have done for the kids, the smaller kids, which I agree, we need to have an avenue for the tweens to go to encourage good behavior and then embolden them to make the correct decisions. And being outdoors in the summertime around here, like, Garden Lake Park, if they had just a 6-disc or something.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very passive approach to recreation here. We provide the equipment, but we don't provide the oversight. We don't have any staff to do that. I don't foresee us building the city that way for quite some time. But this would give us the opportunity to leverage that in a district. But again, I think that there needs to be a commitment very well spelled out before Creswell should sign on.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
It seems extensive.
Yeah.
It's a very extensive idea, I think, because what else could we do? There's not a lot of room, and how much is that gonna cost? And
There's things I think that they could do, and the seniors. We used to offer a senior movement class up at the Cobalt Building, very popular. If we could get a instructor to do Tai Chi in the parks.
That'd be great.
Yeah, there's all kinds of park-oriented activities that someone can lead and make sure it's still safe, that we're not doing. I think it would be.
Outdoor cornhole tournaments.
Sure. Sure, cornhole, we've got horseshoes, we've got the
Minor golf.
the frisbee golf, we've got,
So ideally, it kind of sounds to me like you're leaning towards, or the recreation would be leaning towards kind of like movies in the park, where you're designating days or creating some sort of program like that, where this day we would do a wide open cornhole, or we would have Tai Chi for everybody, and it's paid for by this district between us and Cottage Grove.
Right.
Okay.
right, so, maybe we could talk about having dedicated staff to Creswell.
What about goat yoga?
Sure, if that's what
There's
folks
a lot of goats
want.
around here.
Yeah, yeah.
As long as we're not giving up any land, I'm with you.
So you talked about other entities that would be impacted having to weigh in on it. I would think the school district would have to weigh in on it.
It doesn't affect their mill rate. School
It would.
districts are separate.
Wouldn't affect the library district? or
Probably
the-
would affect the library
or the Southland
and
Fire District?
fire district, yeah.
Those are the ones that I think of.
Well-
And then one of my questions just has to do with, park and rec districts, eventually they have to have facilities. So you think of Willamette Lane, and then there's different fields they use. Our recreation facilities are primarily located on the school grounds. So that would impact them, even though they're not impacted by the vote. So, but in this it says that they're asking it says, at this time, they're asking for Creswell to approve a resolution. Are they not asking for our city council to approve a resolution in support at this time?
Well, it depends on whether or not you're supportive of the idea. I'm not going to bring a resolution to you if you're not confident that you do want to support it. And I think you've had very little information.
That's what I would like.
think you need
is-
more.
I would love to have the steering committee come to a work session and present. And as you said, present some of the specifics, I forget the word you used, so that we, so that we actually have an idea what we're asking our people to support, because we're asking people to vote and to pay out of their pocket. So I just would like more information on that way.
Absolutely, I understand. And I think that, the steering committee, we want to wait until they have some Creswellians on the steering committee before they come here. So I didn't invite them to come tonight because we are in the process still of building this idea. I think that this will be done in phases. I believe initially it will be programming, and it'll be fun stuff to do in the summer, fun stuff to do in the winter. They'll be using whatever facilities are agreeable. If the school district says, yeah, you can use our basketball floor when we're not using it, we could have an adult basketball league. There's just a lot of different pieces that we need to sit down and talk about, and a lot of different players that need to cooperate. But one of the things that it would do is it would, put the school's pool that they have down there, part of their proposal is to take that over. So that would put it in the district. And I see that, the district will grow, and as it grows, they will probably build facilities. And one of the concerns was, well, there's no place to put a facility in Cottage Grove, what are you gonna put it? And it's like, well, if they include Creswell, there's plenty of room in the county in between. So that would be what I would think would be the most logical place to put a new recreational facility. So it just seems to have a lot of potential. But again, I think we need a lot of information. But I just wanted to know if it's something you generally support or if it's something you don't.
Is Bob Kiefer still working with them? Do you know?
He probably is, yeah.
So you know the name Bob Kiefer?
Yeah, I do.
And he was the Willamette Lane, and I was contacted by them 6-8 months ago, but it was Bob who contacted me, just wanted to float the idea, and he said, I'll get back to you with more information, and then you were the one who gave me the next report.
Yeah, one of the things that I think this district could do that's been talked about is put a bike path between Creswell and Cottage Grove. That would be in the district. They could improve trails. Willamette Lane has done a lot of trails. So it's not just a physical facility, it's recreational activity in the big sense. Think about all the things that you could do. Maybe there's dog training. Everybody wants a dog park. Well, what about obedience training for dogs? That could be a recreational activity. Or, if you want to play with your dog, you could do agility training. There's just a lot of things that our parks could be used for. Even if we had just, an 8-hour-a-day person up here, it would make a big difference. And I would like to see that for Creswell. But again, it's really the city council's thoughts that are important.
What's the funding structure?
It's a tax.
Yeah, I know.
It would be a brand-new district.
I'm out.
Alonzo?
Yeah, well, it says the estimated property taxes supported local parks and recreation district ranges from 60 cents to 90 cents per thousand of assessed value. The average cost for a typical homeowner is estimated to range from 102 to 153 annually. So yeah, so I like the idea, but yes, I think we need a lot more information. But it looks like they want this on the November ballot, which sounds like it's far off, but it really isn't.
Well, they've done a lot of the groundwork for Cottage Grove. So, the question will be how much of that can be transferred to include Creswell.
And I see the order that they have here that they're asking the city council at this time is to approve the resolution number 1.
That's what I read.
And then number 3 is work with all stakeholders and the broader community to develop detailed operational plans for the district and address questions from the community and taxpayers regarding specifics of how the district would function and the benefits it would bring. That, I think right now, the 3 needs to be the 1.
I agree.
Because the community, they need to know, that this is gonna cost them and what all the benefits are. And, we gotta know how does the community feel about it?
Right. But is there enough interest to move forward, or should I drop it?
I think I would like more information. I wouldn't say just drop it.
I would love to have their steering committee come and bring more of a formal presentation to us.
And is this something that, I think you've mentioned that you've already talked with some people in the community and some out, that, through surveys, through,
No,
how?
just how do you feel about this? What do you
Sure,
think?
sure.
Is it something we should pursue? Was it something we shouldn't? It really, again, I can't be the cheerleader for it.
Sure.
Because-
Until it gets on the ballot though, right? Once it's, then.
No, then you can't do anything.
No, I think until it gets on the ballot, right?
Right.
Then,
But-
then it's, your hands
Then I
are off.
can't- Yeah, and that would be very strange, to be the cheerleader and then disappear as soon as it gets on the
Sure.
ballot. So we need to find somebody, if this is to move forward as a question on the ballot, we need to find somebody in town who will carry that. That may be the city council. It may be a single counselor. It may be somebody on the Parks and Tree Board. I haven't found anyone yet who sees the potential for this the same way I do.
Sure.
Well, we can start talking it up, though, because they've already done a lot more work in Cottage Grove. They've already gone to the city council in Cottage Grove. They've asked the city council to give official council support to it, and the city council in Cottage Grove did, I think, have a pretty robust debate, and in the end, I think they voted to give support to the creation. So they're way further down the road than we are. I mean, we're just hearing about it tonight.
Sure.
So,
And one way to bring attention to this is, as you said, invite them to come give us a presentation, maybe get the word out, maybe get some community members here to hear.
I was thinking it might be worthwhile to, we had a lot of success when we were talking about the Parks Master Plan of having a pizza party at My Boys. I don't know if you remember how crowded that was. We packed My Boys. And it might be good to have them come to My Boys and start to figure out what the community wants before they come to you. Because I think they need a better
Sure,
idea
that's a
of
good
the
idea.
scope, of what involving Creswell might look like.
Sure, yes, that's a good idea.
Stacy?
I don't like this at all, and it's for a few reasons. One, because I'm taxed to death myself, and I can't ask Creswell to approve another tax that will continue to rise year over year. I just can't do it. But I also question why Cottage Grove? What made us decide that we needed a partnership with them when we're the same amount of miles away from, say, Springfield or Eugene?
Well, because they were working on it, and it sounded like a great opportunity to piggyback on the work that they already did.
Okay.
All right, we have anyone from the public who'd like to comment, and you may go first.
Bill Kent, and if we could do something like that, is there a way to involve non-residents? I'd be glad to pay a tax like that to get that kind of benefit. I mean, everybody in Springfield pays that kind of tax, and look at the recreation they've got. So that's peanuts for what you get.
Yeah, you would be included if you're within the school district.
Okay.
That's where they're thinking of drawing the boundaries, is where
Good. I wanted to
two school
expand
districts
it.
merge, or they, join, they're contiguous.
Yeah.
And then the outside, they talked about using the fire district, but they kind of backed off of that, last I heard.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't just within Creswell itself.
No, it'll be county people, Creswell people, Cottage Grove people.
Okay.
So, council, I hear you say maybe you'd float the idea to them that they first do a kind of a public sort of thing and get and get the word out. And all of us can get the word out and see what people,
Yeah, you know, when we were working on the parks plan, master plan, I would say there was as much interest in recreation as there is in getting a grocery store.
yeah.
It was a big turnout. You must remember.
We had an event at the library, at the high school library, where everybody was drawing ideas. This is when we were talking about Bald Knob as a big piece of property.
Yeah.
We had an event at the high school library, we had the event here. So there was a lot of interest in swimming pool in Creswell, skateboard park, all these kinds of things are what we're talking about.
A skateboard park would be something that
Well, that
these
kind of
folks could look
conversation's
at.
been going on for 15 years. People saying, how do we get more of these activities? Expanding to the school district boundary incorporates a lot more people
To share the
involved.
cost.
And it is a vote matter. So if people say, no, I can't do this,
They can vote no.
then they vote no.
Absolutely.
It just puts the question before the people.
It lets people have a choice. So go ahead and keep moving forward with this. And if you have an opportunity for them to do something, but I think we'd like to hear more about it so we can
Keep
be
moving
more
forward
informed.
with exploring, or
Yes.
keep moving forward with adding us to this?
Keep moving forward with talking to them about doing a community activity, and then we can kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, I think it's important that you guys have a picture of what it is. I wouldn't want anyone to vote for something they
I was
didn't
gonna come in here and
understand.
ask to kick this down the road because I knew not, because I felt like we didn't have, so it was
Yeah.
very refreshing to hear that,
This
yeah.
is just an introduction.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
just a, hey, this idea
Well,
is
that's,
out there.
like he was saying, it's, you know, or I think Alonzo, it's like I thought you guys were looking for us to vote on this next week. And so I was really glad to hear that this is just a discussion, so.
No, I'm sorry for the
Oh,
confusion.
no, it's okay. It's okay.
We're a long way off from that.
All right, we'll continue to explore this.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear more about it for sure.
I
but-
think if it's going to be put on the ballot, we have till September to discuss it before it goes on the ballot. So that's a few months.
Okay, so I think we're ready to
Okay.
adjourn. And I'll see y'all back. So we need to put the tables and
Oh, yes,
chairs
the
away.
sunglasses.